Hit it right at 11 p.m. Yeehaw. As long as I stay on. Good. All right. Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Dylan Knows, episode 632, Falling Iguanas, also known as Blues for November, which I didn't put as the second. That was going to be my secondary title, but I decided to do Falling Iguanas for reasons you will see very soon. Interesting up here a little bit. You check the weather real quick because earlier this week it looked like we were going to get some snow on Tuesday. Up in my area, and that has fallen off now. So now we're going to get sun. The snow is going to stay out to the west from what I heard. So here we go. Secondly, my beard. I want to bring this up. I want to show the paper. Maybe I will a little later on down, maybe in my next show or something like that. But up here locally, I have been chosen by my wife's scout troop to and also been enlisted by Santa Claus himself to portray Santa Claus at a Breakfast for Santa fundraiser for the Scouts up here in Reisterstown. So I'll be portraying Santa Claus on December 6th, 8:30 to 11. It's a Saturday at a local church around here. I'll get the flyers sent out to you here. But instead of getting a fake beard, I think I'm going to try to grow out a real one and paint it white. You get some white in there down here, especially, but it's still kind of dark up here. I'll have to, of course, obviously get a wig or dye my hair white also. So we'll see what happens. So still got a little bit about less than a month to do it, but still got some. That's going to be a lot of fun for you to do. So I'm looking forward to that. What do we got for tonight? Since it's 11 o'clock, we got new soda. It's a zero sugar one. Shit. Holiday creamy vanilla Coca-Cola zero sugar. Damn it. I was looking for that. I didn't see it. I was like, oh, great. I got the regular one. No, I got the zero sugar one. I had the regular one upstairs in can form. But damn it. Way to go, old guy. Dumbass. It's so small. You can't really see it right there. So fucking zero sugar. I hate it. Oh, well. So we'll drink that and we'll taste it. So I may as well do it now because now I'm totally depressed now. But we do have the actual can upstairs of regular ones, so smells like vanilla Coke. Tastes like a stronger vanilla Coke. That's really about it. That's really the only really difference. Is maybe a little bit stronger vanilla flavor than usual, but the branding for it, the holiday creamy vanilla Coke, is good. So it's vanilla Coke. Just it has probably a little bit touch more boom vanilla flavor to it, but I really wasn't expecting much from that. I'm expecting more from the sodas we're getting next year, which we've got a whole buttload of those coming up, which I'll talk about a little later in the show. So looking forward to those, actually. So that should be a better experience than this. As I said, it's fine, and it's holiday creamy vanilla, and if you want to get a holiday spirit, and you like vanilla Coke, it's there. It doesn't taste any real difference. As I said, just maybe a little sweeter, a little bit more vanilla flavor to it. So it's fine. As I said, it's fine. And I was expecting something like that anyway, so it doesn't matter. So it's good. So what do we got this week? So we got Election Day results. Pretty good for us. Last week, I was finishing up the show. The World Series was still going on. I was like, guess got to wait because it went to extra innings. Got to wait to tell you who the winner is. It's been a week now. You already know who it is. It was LA Dodgers. They won their second year in a row in like 13 innings or something like that. So World Series for the ages, as it were. So good on that. Also, last week I told you we tried to get onto the Fortnite Simpsons season, but because of the amount of people who are trying to get on it, it crashed Fortnite. So we actually get onto it till Sunday. So I actually got onto it Sunday, and I got to tell you, I'm enjoying it a lot. It's been I didn't write this down, but it was on my feed this week. They had some of the biggest amount of concurrent players at one time doing the show, and it's actually been a hugely popular series, a lot more popular than the Star Wars season, mini season that we got last year. So, it was Star Wars, right? Because I know they segued into a Star Wars season for this one, new chapter. Yeah, because they used that. It was a Star Wars season, and then they used the Star Wars stuff areas as locations on the map for this chapter. So yeah, so we got that. We get a brand new Fortnite chapter at the end on Thanksgiving weekend. Actually, everything's happening Thanksgiving weekend. It's crazy. We got the new season of Fortnite, season 7. And we also have Community Day is set to hit on the 30th of November. That's also it. And we also have the first part of Stranger Things' final season. They had their world premiere of the first episode earlier this week, and we're going to talk a little bit about that in a little bit because of some stories that came up about that. But we'll get there. We'll get there eventually, soon enough. Actually, it's right there. Actually, you know, may as well do it right now. So the premiere was like Thursday night. Monday, there was reports that Billy Bobby Brown had put some sort of lawsuit against David Harbour, who played her father in Stranger Things, for bullying and just mental anguish, stuff like that. No sexual assault or anything like that, and no actual assault, but just bullying and mental anguish or some sort of issues like that. So people were kind of freaking out about that. I was like, oh my God, what's happening? You know, people were like, that's a little weird because I never thought David Harbour was something like that, and Millie Bobby Brown wasn't like that, and it didn't seem like it was all that bad. Flash forward to Thursday. So you have this whole thing lingering in the back of your head. So you flash forward to Thursday, the premiere of Stranger Things, and Harbour and Millie Bobby Brown are like hugging each other and kissing each other and laughing and waving, and they're hanging out to just the two of them, getting their pictures taken. Millie Bobby Brown gets interviewed by somebody saying how great it is working with David Harbour. Now, you can take that as a few ways. One, the storyline was grossly overplayed. The storyline never actually happened, or they figured out their deals and everything was copacetic after that. They figured out whatever it was it had like that. So there's a whole bunch of things that could have happened. So could there have been some sort of issue between the two of them? Yeah, sure, there could have been. But and is it still lingering? It's possible were they just mugging for the cameras because that's what you need to do to promote your show? Maybe, but here's the thing though. It's Stranger Things is already a brand. There's no need for you to go way overboard because people are going to watch it anyway. They're not going to really care much about any behind the scenes stuff that's going on there. They're going to watch it anyway. And it you don't need to be together. You might have one or two pictures together, but you don't have to be all over each other, laughing, giggling, saying how great everything was with them. You just, you do your few pictures with each other, and then you split off your own way. You sit other places. So either nothing happened. It was something that they worked out before the premiere, and everything's all copacetic between all of them, or they were just full on acting and the anger and seething is still there. I don't know. We won't know. So we'll see what happens. Doesn't matter. As I said, it doesn't really matter because people are going to watch it. They're going to lose their minds for it. For Stranger Things Day, which was this week also, they released the first 5 minutes of the first episode, and basically they're going back in time to show when Will was kidnapped, and that everyone's fan theory that Vecna was in season 1 was when it kidnapped him appears to have been actually proven true with the first 5 minutes of the show being shown. So, gosh, this is a spoiler. Sorry. So, it doesn't matter. It's going to be watched. Comes out the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. So, there we go. We'll talk about election day here in a second. Here's something interesting. So, Antoine Fuqua, good director, has been working on this Michael Jackson biopic. And it was supposed to come out November, December, Christmas, or December, something like that of this year. But he delayed it to April 24th to be exact, actually, which is like the week after Easter, I think. And they finally released the first trailer for it. Looks, as expected, really good. Michael's nephew is playing him in the biopic. It's Janet's son, I believe. And it looks really good. Looks like it's going to be a good look at his life. They had him recreate Thriller, which is really cool. They had him get the voice down pretty good, and had Quincy Jones in there. Actor playing Quincy Jones is pretty decent. I forget who that is. Is it Coleman Domingo or something like that? I'm not sure, but looks pretty decent. But the movie itself looks really, really good, and it's going to be a massive hit because it had a record 116.2 million views when it first came out. So that's like Marvel level views. So this Michael movie is going to go through skyrocket. 4/24 is like right before the beginning of May. May, the first weekend of May is usually the start of summer. This is like the weekend before where they're going to have that. So that's really kind of really neat. So I'm looking forward to that. Should be pretty decent. So we'll take a look at that. Emma Stone and Jennifer Lawrence are producing a Miss Piggy movie. That's going to be written by Cole Escola, who I don't know, but everyone mentions the person every time they do the story. No word if the actresses are going to act with Miss Piggy in it or not, but there is going to be a Miss Piggy spinoff movie that Emma Stone and Jennifer Lawrence are producing, which is really, really cool. The Night Manager Season 2 trailer with Tom Hiddleston set debut January 11th, 2026 on Prime. We got our first trailer for it. The first season of Night Manager was 10 years ago, something like that. So now we get the second season here. It was Hiddleston, and right before he became famous, or right around the time he was getting famous or whatever, and then it took off from there. So it took some stuff there. Roadhouse 2 has cast Andrew Bachelor, Iko Uwais, and Hidetoshi Nishijima in the cast. It's also for Prime. The Grammy nominations came out. Sinners got a ton of Grammy nominations, and Huntrix, the band from K-pop Demon Hunters, got 5 Grammy nominations as well, and they have been picked to be in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade on Thanksgiving Day, the 27th of November. So that's going to be pretty cool as well, because Macy's Day Parade is one of the coolest things in the world, and that's really cool. Unfortunately, good news, bad news scenario. We knew they were going to be doing a sequel to K-pop Demon Hunters. The sequel will now be out in 4 years, 2029. But you got to look at its animation. That's why it's taking the Spider-Verse so long to come out, because it's animation. They gotta work on the animation. They got to get it just right. They got to get the songs written. They got to get the rehearsals for the songs written. They've got to get the choreography. It's understandable. It's going to take 4 years to get done. So K-pop Demon Hunters will arrive again in 4 years. Hopefully they'll be able to maybe continue to build on it so that no one forgets about them over the next 4 years. I don't think K-pop is going away. But Huntrix may want to just sort of hang around and keep telling people, hello, we're still here. And it won't surprise me if they do that. They will. The official Buffy reboot is officially set to hit Hulu in 2026. No date yet, but it is officially there. So we'll see about that. Speaking of the Grammys, everyone was screaming that Taylor Swift was snubbed by the Grammys because there was no nominations for her new album. Yeah, no, that's not what happened. The Grammys have a weird time frame. I don't know how it worked out, but their time frame for the music that they listen to for the Grammy nominations is set between August and August. So August 24th, 2024 and August 2025 was the window where if you release music within that time frame, it will be considered for Oscars, or not Oscars, Grammys, excuse me. Not Grammys. Yes, Grammys. It would be for considered for Grammys. Taylor's album did not come out till October, so she is set to get nominations at next year's Grammys around this time. Next year, we'll get her Grammy Award nominations for that. Because you got to remember, K-pop Demon Hunters came out on my birthday, actually, June 20th. Sinners came out in April. So, yeah, it's not October, but still it's in the window, and it's a little bit of a hike. So that's what's happened with that. So she was not snubbed. The window, it just didn't fit for her. So the Grammys also, a Milli Vanilli member who's still alive. Unfortunately, the other one committed suicide, I think. And the Dalai Lama will be competing with each other for a Grammy Award for best, what is it? Where they read a book in the, what do they call that? Where they read the book, like book to tape sort of thing. The Dalai Lama, I guess, has a book that he is doing a recording of to read it to somebody, and Milli Vanilli is doing the woman Milli Vanilli is doing a reading of the book that discussed their controversy. So they're going to be going up against each other, which is just kind of funny. Miss World Chile, a finalist for Miss World Chile, for her competition where it shows off what her skill is. She sang death metal live on TV. It was outstanding. It's one of the funniest, greatest things you're ever going to see. Glenn Powell is set to star in the remake of The Running Man, set to come out this weekend, the 14th. Not this weekend, next weekend, the 14th of November. And he was doing press for that. He was doing an interview with Josh Brolin, who's also in the movie, and Coleman Domingo, I think, because he's also in the movie too. And he revealed in this interview, by inviting both of them to his graduation party in spring of 2027. And they're like, what? And he's like, I'm going back to school. So Glenn Powell, I guess, either dropped out to go into acting or never went to school to get into acting, but has decided that he wants to become kind of a full-time student, sort of do what Natalie Portman did. And the actress who played Hermione, what she kind of did, Emma Watson, what she did also, went to school while working also. He mentioned in the interview he's doing 6 credits like a semester, and doing that starting, I guess, with this fall semester. He will be able to graduate in the spring of 2027. So good job to you, Glenn. Congratulations. Brett Goldstein, who played Roy Kent on Ted Lasso, and also helped create, write, and co-star in Shrinking, the show on Apple, which is also supposed to be really, really good, has a new show coming up that he is writing, starring in, and producing. It's called Escorted, and it is a half-hour single-camera show set for Amazon Prime. It was he did not need to do a pilot. They signed it to an 8-episode first season right away. No pilot needed. Just do 8 episodes and then we'll air it. He plays a divorced father in New York who accidentally stumbles into the world of escorting and becomes a male escort. That's all they're being told us about us. Scott Hampton, who is a fantastic writer, painter, artist for comic books, has written and drawn some really mystical and really good, very well done graphic novels and stories as well. And has done some comic book work, but that's not really his thing. He's more of a painterly sort of comic book writer, but there is room for that. One of his graphic novels, called The Upturned Stone, which is a spooky story, is being adapted to film, not knowing if it's animation or live action, and Scott Hampton will be writing the screenplay for it, so he will be fully invested in that as well. Ryan Reynolds has got 2 things going on right now. First up, he signed on to that version of Eloise, a adaptation of I guess it's a young children's stories. Eloise. Ryan Reynolds will be producing and will be playing the bad guy in the Eloise movie with newcomer Mae Schneck, who will be playing Eloise for Netflix. And Ryan Reynolds is also set to star and produce in a remake of the 1974 Clint Eastwood Jeff Bridges film Thunderbolt and Lightfoot. He will be starring, producing it as well. David Harbour, we were talking about earlier, his sequel to his Santa Claus action film, Violent Night 2, has wrapped production, will probably come out sometime next year, maybe around this time next year if they decide to stick with Christmas or before then. Stephen King adaptations have made $650 million in 5 years on streaming, so good on that. Issa Rae, Dan Stevens, Zach Cherry, Kate Berlatt joined Seth Rogen and Anna Kendrick in the comedy Babies. So that should be an interesting one. Before we get to politics, let's talk a little bit about what's happening this weekend. This weekend, Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein with Oscar Isaac, Jacob Elordi, and Mia Goth was released. It has been getting very well reviewed. It was released on Netflix. It was released in small amount of theaters a couple weeks ago, but it came out on Netflix this week. And my feeds on all my social media have been talking about Frankenstein and how much everybody's loving it. And it got me thinking a little bit of a discussion thing here. Everyone's talking about the Guillermo del Toro Frankenstein movie, but you got to think about this on social media. You got to think about this. If it actually was only released in movie theaters and not on Netflix, would we be getting this type of interactions? Because, yeah, we'll probably get some, because some people will probably go to the movie theaters to go see it. But a lot of people, knowing full well it's going to be on Netflix soon, they might decide to wait to go see it till it comes on Netflix. And that's when the discussions would start opening up a little bit, because there was some discussion when it came out in movie theaters, but didn't come out enough of them that a lot of people didn't go out and see it. But when you release it on streaming, everybody can see it at any time they want to. And that's the biggest, one of the biggest draws also. I've talked most times about streaming versus movie theaters. I like going to movie theaters. I don't like streaming as much, but I will watch if something piques my interest. I will do that if it doesn't show up in movie theaters. I got a couple of those coming up. Frankenstein didn't show up anywhere near me, so I'm going to see that eventually. The third Knives Out movie, Wake Up Dead Man, is going to be released around Thanksgiving, minimally in theaters. That's coming out on Netflix on my daughter's birthday. So I might just go ahead and wait for that as well. And that's what a lot of people are doing also, because a lot of people don't want to pay the exorbitant price to go to the movies. You got to drive to the movie theater. You got to pay for your ticket. You got to pay for your snacks. You get to sit down, and you got to sit through commercials and trailers. And if you have to go to the bathroom, you can't pause the movie. You have to get up in the middle of the movie, miss part of it, go to the bathroom. If you can't hear very well or the sound mix is terrible, they don't really have. Well, some people do closed caption, but a lot of movie theaters don't do closed captioning for their movies. And then you also have the fact that there might be people there who are talking or on their social media, are bothering you. And then once it's out, you got to get back in your car, drive home, stuff like that. Streaming allows you to watch it anytime you want to, because movie theaters have specific start times. This movie starts at 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9. But if you cannot make any of those times and you want to watch it some other time as well, at your own leisure, you can watch it whenever you want to. If you want to watch it at 10 a.m. in the morning, you want to watch it at midnight, you can. But if the movie theaters aren't open at that time, you'd be able to sit down and watch it. You have your own snacks. You don't have to pay. You've already paid for them. They're cheaper than they are in movie theaters. But the reason why movie theaters do that is because they don't get any money on the back end for the movies that do really, really well. They have to make their money through concessions. That's why this costs so much. So don't grumble so much about, paying, that much money for that stuff, because that is what keeps the movie theaters running. I mean, I think they get a little bit of money from the movies, but they don't get enough to run the movie theater. The concession is what does that for that. But I digress. That being said, you can pause the movie if you need to go to the bathroom. You can put closed captioning on if you want, so you can see what's going on. A lot of people have really high-tech theater setups so they can make it look really, really good. And if not, you can get comfy. You don't have to dress up. You can wear your night clothes or whatever, comfy pants and shirts. You don't have to feel like you have to get dressed up to do anything to go out. You don't have to leave your house. You just curl up and watch the movie on streaming. And then you can talk, and then immediately you can either do it right. You start talking about it while you're watching it via social media, or wait till it's over and then just go around on social media and start talking about it. So, would the same amount of interaction be going on today if it was released in movie theaters today or this past weekend? I don't think it would be as much, because I think it probably would have made some good money, but I don't think I think a lot of people would still be waiting for it to show up on Netflix to watch it again. Same with Fantastic Four. Fantastic Four came out on Disney Plus this week. And a lot of people who didn't want to watch it in the movie theaters are now watching it and saying, yeah, this is really good. We had the same discussion when Thunderbolts hit. Thunderbolts, they claim underachieved. I thought it did fine, but when it gets to Disney Plus, it was huge. So it's going to be the whole continuing streaming versus movie theaters. And you can make cases for both. All right, so now we're going to talk a little bit politics stuff. It's 25 minutes in, so here we go. Election day was fantastic for Democrats. Not a lot of elections, but the most important ones, we won all of them. Virginia elected a Democratic female governor, a Democratic attorney general, and a Democratic lieutenant governor. And they flipped a number of seats in their legislature, which puts the Democrats in charge of the legislature now, Virginia. Zoran Mondami, the guy running for mayor in New York, who was getting a ton of threats and stuff like that from higher ups and was getting big money paying people to go up against him, won his election as mayor of New York. He is a socialist, a Democrat socialist, which actually the more and more I think about and hear about what a Democrat socialist is, FDR was one. Hello. I kind of think that's my new designation now. So it'd be good to see that. Prop 50, the California bill that Newsom put out there about would it be all right if we redistrict California so that there are no Republican areas, was passed with a massive amount of stuff. Now everybody's complaining about that. The problem with that is Texas did the same thing, but they didn't ask for their opinion of the voters. They just went ahead and did it because Donald Trump asked them to, ordered them to do it. Newsom could have done the same exact thing. If you want to flaunt your power like the governor of Texas did, Newsom could have said, okay, we're going to redistrict everything in California this second without getting the voters' feedback. But he was smart. He said, let's see if the voters want this. They overwhelmingly did. The reason why they didn't do it in Texas is because, and this is funny, there are 8.5 million registered Democrats in Texas, and there's 6 million registered Republicans. But the reason why the Republicans control it is through gerrymandering and stuff like that. They knew that if they tried to put it up for a vote, it might have gotten beaten because the Democrats would have come out to try to break it because they would want to get gerrymandering back to, or their districts back to normal so that they would be in control again. So that's why they're doing that. So we did that. A bunch of local level races all turned Democrats. A bunch of seats in Mississippi, a totally red place turned blue, and lots of big bills. Colorado, I think, is putting up a extra taxation on rich people to pay for free school lunches for everybody. Maine shot down the brutal Voter ID Act, which would have been absolutely devastating for everybody. They shot that down. And there's a whole lot of other stuff going on, but it was a blue wave, and it was giving everyone a lot of hope. And we'll see if that continues. Something else that gave hope also, the guy who threw a sandwich at an ICE agent and then got arrested, thrown in jail, and charged with assault. The case was acquitted, saying, what the fuck are you doing? It's a sandwich. It's not like he shot you or hit you with bricks or bats or shocked you or anything like that. He threw a fucking sandwich at you. It doesn't fucking hurt. Even with a hard bagel roll, you had on fucking body armor, you wouldn't feel a goddamn thing. And even if you didn't have body armor, it's fucking bread. This country is so stupid. So good on that. We'll see what happens down the line. There's a lot of other weird, shitty stuff still going on, but things are starting to crack a little bit. So we'll see what's going on with that. Anniversaries, Disney's A Christmas Carol, the Robert Zemeckis, Jim Carrey motion capture movie, debuted 16 years ago this week. It was not a bad Christmas movie, but it's not great. The computer-generated Peanuts movie debuted 10 years ago this week. The Night Flyer, one of my favorite Stephen King adaptations with my boy Miguel Ferrer, debuted 28 years ago. That was on HBO. Didn't make a movie a thing. The live action Tick TV show with Putty from Seinfeld and the guy from The Dish. I can't think of his name right now. Debuted 24 years ago this week. And 8 Mile, the Eminem biopic starring Eminem, debuted 23 years ago this week. Deaths, Rick Hawk, astronaut, commanded the first shuttle mission after the Challenger disaster. He passed away this week. And director Lee Tamahori, he directed James Bond film Die Another Day and also Once Were Warriors. I've heard of his name. I think he's done a whole bunch of other stuff you've probably heard of also. So let's take a look at his filmography. He's a New Zealand, was a New Zealand film director. Once Were Warriors, Mulholland Falls, not the Mulholland Falls, which was the gangster movie. The Edge with Anthony Hopkins and Alec Baldwin. Along Came a Spider, the sequel to Kiss the Girls. Die Another Day, Triple X, State of the Union. Next, which was a great underrated Nicolas Cage movie. Those are the only ones that know, and the rest are some ones I've never heard of. And he directed an episode of The Sopranos, an episode of Billions. So didn't do quite as much as I thought he did, but he still did a lot of stuff. Good on that. All right. So there we go. I'm just double checking to see if there's anything I'm missing right here. Nope. Okay. Oh, by the way, this is probably my last episode with this notebook. I've got about 100 episodes worth of notes in here. I got time to get myself a new notebook. I might be able to hold on to it. I've got maybe one more. Let's see. 1, 2, 3. Actually, I'll probably be able to stay on for another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I have 3 more pages. So I'll probably be able to do one more episode. Next week's episode will be the last one. So that'll be good. All right. Real turkeys attack an inflatable turkey decoration in a video from a doorbell camera. It's hilarious. And a kangaroo sniffing around one of these like animatronic zombie witch sort of things set it off, and it made this creepy little noise. The kangaroo hopped away and then jumped up and kicked the shit out of it. I don't think that was AI. I think it actually really happened because kangaroos are sons of bitches. So let's see what happens. But, you know, it's getting harder to tell sometimes now to see what it actually is and isn't. Meryl Streep and Sigourney Weaver. There's 2 actors I would love to see together in film. Guess what? They are doing one. It's called Useful Idiots, and it's a thriller, which is interesting for those 2. So cool. It'll be great to see that. Sarah Paulson is set to play Eileen Wuornos in Monster Season 4, which is the show which talks about serial killers. She's set up to be Eileen Wuornos, which is going to be the next one they're going to do. The live-action Legend of Zelda movie has started filming in New Zealand and is supposed to continue filming through April of next year. So it's going to be a big filming thing. So they're going to be out there for a while. So we're probably not going to see that movie probably till 2027 at this point. So, but that'll be interesting though to see. You know, it's actually getting done. It's getting in the can. So that's pretty cool. Lakeith Stanfield and Winston Duke have joined the voice cast of Slime, a sci-fi animated film coming out soon. Grand Theft Auto 6 has been delayed to November 19th, 2026. This is now either the second longest delay between video games since they did one back in I forget what it was called, but it was announced in like 1998, didn't release till like 2011, something like that. So a similar sort of situation is happening with Grand Theft Auto, but it is now set to debut in a little over a year and 10 days from now. So there we go. 375 days, as it were. Chris Columbus, who wrote the original Gremlins movie, but did not direct it. Joe Dante did. And I don't know if Chris Columbus had anything to do with Gremlins 2. I don't think he did. Is set to return to Gremlins 3 because Gremlins 3 has been officially announced. Will be coming out in November of 2027 with Chris Columbus directing and Steven Spielberg producing. Don't know if Chris Columbus wrote the script. I would assume probably if he's directing, he probably did. I'm actually looking forward to that now because it'd be great to see because this is Chris Columbus's baby. He was the one that created the Gremlins. And Joe Dante, don't get me wrong, Joe Dante did a fantastic job with both movies. But I would love to see what Chris Columbus does with his baby. So that'll be good. We'll see what happens with that. Stranger Things, you think this is the final season. We're not going to have any more Stranger Things after New Year's Eve 2025. Well, you'd be wrong. It's not live action, but Netflix announced a animated series called Stranger Things Tales from 85, a new animated series set between seasons 2 and 3. I think a couple of the cast members are returning to voice their characters because it looks like it's going to focus on Noah Schnapp's character, Will. And I think he's coming back to voice it, but I'm not sure. But it is an animated show set to debut in 2026. So you'll be able to, it won't be live action, but you'll be able to have some Stranger Things stuff going on in your thing. I gotta say, I saw a trailer for this and I'm getting kind of excited about it. And I wasn't thinking about it, but when I saw the trailer, I was like, this might be kind of cool. It depends on how long it is. Saw the trailer for Kill Bill, The Whole Bloody Affair, set to debut on December 5th. For those who don't know, Kill Bill is Quentin Tarantino's 4th or 5th movie. And he had to split. He didn't want to, but he had to split the Kill Bill into 2 films because they were really, really long. They're both about 2 hours long. So it's like a 4-hour movie. And movie theaters didn't want him to do that. So he split it down the middle with made it like 2 2-hour movies. Excuse me. And it's been trying to, people have been trying to get him to release like a Blu-ray version of the movie stitched back together. Well, you don't need to worry about that. He is returning it to the movie theaters December 5th. And this time it will be one big ass movie. So we'll take a look at see how long that actually is. But I'm intrigued to watch it because I've only seen, I've only watched it in on television. It'd be nice to see it on the big screen. And there will be some new footage added to it and some stuff that was taken out that they had to make to find a good stopping point for the 2 movies. So now they don't need to do that. So they got something else going on. But saw a trailer for it. It looked really, really good. So I'm going to have to check that out myself when it comes out. Trammell Tillman is having a year. He's on Severance, which is doing a fantastic job for him. He was just cast in Spider-Man Brave. Well, not just cast. He's in Spider-Man Brave New World or Brave New Day or New Day or whatever. Brand New Day, whatever the new movie coming out next year is. And he just got cast along with Ian McKellen in Ebenezer Christmas Carol with Johnny Depp, directed by T. Lewis or whoever did those X movies, stuff like that. But so 2 really good cast members. I think they said Trammell will be playing the Ghost of Christmas Present. I think so. That'll be really cool to see that. So I'm excited to. That movie's actually getting to be T. West. That's what it was. That movie's starting to build up, particularly with Ian McKellen. He's probably going to play Marley if you think about it. Trammell Tillman, Johnny Depp, and potentially Margot Robbie as well. She's been rumored to join the cast as well, even though it's not official. Sad news. The 2026 edition of the Farmer's Almanac will be the last one. The Farmer's Almanac has been around for 208 years. And honestly, it really does not need to be around anymore. It was just nostalgia stuff. And it was back in the 1800s when it started. Yeah, you kind of needed it. And it was a big deal through the 1900s till we got to like the 70s and 80s. And then things sort of got a little offhand with that. So kind of sad at the same time. It's just like, I never really listened to that much. The Abandoned, set to debut December 4th, is a new Netflix series starring Lena Headey and Gillian Anderson, who are two Old West women going to war with each other. We got our first trailer for it, and it looks absolutely fucking fantastic. I got to tell you that. It looks like, Yellowstone crossed with Deadwood, crossed with a little bit of Game of Thrones in there as well. Basically, the premise is Gillian Anderson is basically playing the Gene Hackman role in The Quick and the Dead. And for those who don't get that reference, Gillian Anderson looks like she's playing like the bad guy in the show. She's the woman who runs a small Western town, like the 1880s out in the Old West sort of thing. And it's filmed on location, so gorgeous scenery, stuff like that. And she's, runs her town with the iron fist, and she's trying to buy up all the land around it as well to control everything. And Lena Headey, who runs her own farm and has her own land, is refusing to sell the land to Gillian Anderson. So Gillian Anderson goes to declare war on her to try to get her to sell the land. So Lena Headey does not take that too well, so she goes to war against Gillian Anderson. Looks fucking fantastic. Two actresses at the top of their acting look phenomenal, going against each other. And it's got, your violence. It's got sex in it. It's got gorgeous scenery, and it's got two fantastic actresses playing off each other. Looking really forward to that. I might have to check that out myself. So the name of this episode is Falling Iguanas. So what does that all mean, Dylan? Well, here we are 42 minutes into the show. We're going to talk about that a little bit. People in Florida already know what this is. But in Florida, there are iguanas that live in trees. It's a fact. You go there, there are iguanas in the trees. As that happens. However, when temperatures drop below 45 degrees, it sort of stuns these iguanas who are used to living in the hot, humid warmth of Florida. And when the temperature drops too low, which normally doesn't happen all that often, it sort of freezes the iguanas and they fall from their perches in the tree because they're kind of frozen and they're not moving, and they just sort of slip off and they fall to the ground. So if you're not careful and you're walking down the road, you might get a iguana or two fall on top of your head. Now, they don't die. They're just sort of stunned and they're kind of slow. And then when it heats up, they go back to normal. They'll climb back up their tree and they'll be fine. If you get a little bit higher than that, like 50 or so degrees, they get sluggish. They still don't fall out of the trees, but they get really, really sluggish. So I think they're cold-blooded. So they prefer, it wouldn't be cold. Yeah, they're cold-blooded. So they would prefer the sun to keep them warm. And the cold just sort of knocks them out. So it's something interesting I've seen before, and it's kind of interesting that they actually have actual warnings that go on the weather down in Florida that says, hey, it could be fallen iguana season, so be careful because we're getting to 40 degrees as low, which again does not happen that much in Florida, but it does happen. Demogorgon Crunch from the makers of Captain Crunch is releasing that in time for the new season of Stranger Things. Overcooked, a video game. It's a cooking sort of video game. Netflix and A24 are creating a Overcooked reality program using the cooking simulation that is in the video game and applying it to reality with real people doing cooking. It's going to be a cooking competition based on the video game Overcooked that A24 Netflix are doing. So it could be interesting to see that. It's just starting production. Probably won't come out till next year anyway. So we'll see how that actually goes up there. My Darling California, it's got a stacked cast. Got Jessica Chastain, Josh Brolin, Don Cheadle, Chris Pine, Mikey Madsen, and Charles Melton. It kind of reminds me a little bit of 2 Days in the Valley, it's going to be like sort of that crime thriller sort of storyline and how it affects different people in Los Angeles. Stacked cast, though. Hell of a stacked cast you got there. Movie re-releases have been kind of a big deal. Some make some good money and some make a decent amount, but you get a lot of, it gets a chance for movie theaters to get more people into movie theaters. I mean, Back to the Future came out on Halloween weekend, made some good bank. Didn't go crazy, but made some extra money there as well. So it's kind of nice. So we're going to continue to see that. First up, more close to home. And I'm actually interested in this. I think I'm going to do this because I actually did see this in the movie theater when it first came out. Didn't like it. Watched it again almost a year later on Blu-ray and enjoyed it a lot more, and has now become one of my favorite Christmas movies, the go-to Christmas movies. It is the live action How the Grinch Stole Christmas, Stole Christmas, directed by Ron Howard with Jim Carrey. It will be re-released in movie theaters for its 25th anniversary on my daughter's birthday, December 12th. So very looking forward to that. I'll probably see that weekend, hopefully, maybe. And V for Vendetta, story based on the comic book by Alan Moore, based on the kind of roughly on the guy who did Beware the 5th of November sort of thing, and Bonfire Night sort of thing. Will be released next year in movie theaters between November 1st and November 5th for the 20th anniversary of the release of that film. So pretty decent there. Another sort of quick thing, I have to look this up. Disney Plus is doubling their subscription. For the annual subscription, I pay only about $79 a year, one time $79 a year. Mid-November is when it happens. So it's coming up sooner than later. Supposedly, they're doubling the price now to $159 a year. Don't know if that includes Hulu, so I have to do some research on that, because if it's just Disney Plus, even though I want to see Percy Jackson, even though I love the Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special, I don't know if I can afford, particularly with the way our economy is under that convict moron, if I can afford to have it. So, plus when I've been trying to turn it on my stick, it says you have to log in, which I don't remember shutting down on it. So I have to look at that. So I think they said you have to let them know by November 18th, and that would be 10 days from now. So I have next weekend, my wife is going camping. So what I might end up doing is I might end up looking at it then, plus she gets paid next weekend. Right now, we're sort of struggling with money right now because we just paid our mortgage, and she gets paid every 2 weeks. I get paid every week. I get about $600 a week. She gets like close to $2,000 every 2 weeks, so that helps us stay afloat as we are. But those tight periods after we paid our mortgage is a little bit tough to keep things going, and we're in that sort of frame right now. We've got about $200 some in our account to last until Thursday when I get paid. So. We'll have to wait and see what goes on about that. But regardless, I'll have to take a look at that. But it better include fucking Hulu, because why the fuck would you double something and just give us the same old bullshit? Unless it's a money grab, obviously. But I think it's going to have Hulu. It better. If it does, I've never been a real big fan of Hulu, but the fact that Buffy's going to be out on Hulu next year, we'll see what happens. So we'll see. We'll take a look at that. And I'm not that big a fan of that. I think I mentioned this story before. I thought it was funny, though. Couple having sex outdoors in goat costumes get shot by a hunter. So that's, well, it's funny, but it's also not, because they got shot. But still, two men were caught trying to steal large street signs from the highway. The ones that say, the massive ones you see on the highway that say, exit 45 is over here, or 95 Washington south, Washington South, half mile from now. The ones you see, they stole those for whatever goddamn reason, I don't know, and they got busted for it. So, whatever. Anniversaries. So we had Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein came out on Friday. Mary Shelley's Frankenstein debuted 31 years ago this week. That is 1994, which is a great year anyway. But that is Kenneth Branagh's version of it, where he played Victor Frankenstein. Robert De Niro played the monster. and Helena Bonham Carter played his love interest. That movie is also what sort of dissolved Emma Thompson and Kenneth Branagh's wedding, because apparently he was having an affair with Helena Bonham Carter during the making of that. And it was the second in the Francis Ford Coppola sort of stuff. He did Bram Stoker's Dracula and then produced Mary Shelley's Frankenstein and then produced Sleepy Hollow. I don't think he was involved with The Mummy because it really wasn't based on a book. It's just based on Universal stuff. But still, all these sort of horror films in the 90s, Coppola had his hand involved, so he's a producer on this as well. So that debuted 31 years ago this week. Chicken Little, the Disney's first ever fully CGI film. Remember, Pixar was not a part of Disney for the longest time, even though they were distributed through Disney. This is actually one of Disney's first fully CGI films, debuted 20 years ago this week. Elf, which I've never really seen because I've never really been that interested in it, but everybody seems to love the holiday film, debuted 22 years ago this week. Starship Troopers debuted 28 years ago this week. My favorite band, REM, released their album Green 37 years ago this week. Less Than Zero, Robert Downey Jr., Jamie Gertz, and I want to say, I can't think of the other person in that, debuted 38 years ago this week. And a black cat ran onto the field of the Giants Stadium during Monday Night Football 6 years ago this week. Deaths, Leon Stickle, NHL ref and former linesman player, passed away. Dwayne Roberts, the creator of the frozen burritos, passed away this week. Mia Hammond, University of Washington goalkeeper, passed away from cancer at the age of 21. Anthony Barksdale, deputy mayor of public safety in Maryland and was also former police commissioner of Maryland, died at the age of 53. And that's it for this page. All righty. Haley Atwell and Gerard Butler will be starring in Empire City, a hostage crisis action thriller. So it's good to see Haley doing other stuff besides Mission Impossible and Captain America. Here Comes the Flood has started filming. It stars Denzel Washington, Robert Pattinson, Daisy Edgar Jones, Denai Guerrara, Sean something or other, and Moises Arias. It's a heist film that has started filming this week. The Testament of Ann Lee, which looks really interesting, is an epic musical with Amanda Seyfried. It's set to debut on Christmas Day, 12/25. We got our first trailer for it. It appears to be set during the Mayflower period, where we have people coming from England on boats to America, and they look like they're pilgrims and they are settling in. So the movie's going to take place partially on the ocean as they cross, and then when they get to the New World, how it affects people. The set design and the costumes look phenomenal, and it is supposedly a musical. We got some music, but we didn't really see it, but they're calling it an epic musical. So we got our first trailer for it, but we didn't really get to see any singing in it, but it's still pretty decent, though. Trailer for Oh, What Fun. Prime is getting into the Hallmark Christmas movie sort of thing. This one stars Michelle Pfeiffer. So that's pretty good for that. We got our first look at Percy Jackson Season 2. The trailer for that debuted this week. It's coming out December 10th. Looks just as awesome as expected. Another Christmas movie, but especially movie theaters. I never heard of it, though. Tinseltown, Christmas movie starring Kiefer Sutherland and Rebel Wilson, set debut on Black Friday, November 28th. Motel Transylvania, a animated series set in the world of Hotel Transylvania, the Adam Sandler animated series, is set to debut in 2027 on Netflix. Again, see, animation takes some time. The Mayfair Witches Season 3 starts filming this week. Zolo Menduena, who played Blue Beetle and was also in Cobra Kai, had been getting fan casted for a specific role in One Piece live action. Well, they heard you. The fans have been casting him as the character of Ace, and Zolo Menduena has just been cast as Ace in season 3 of One Piece, which is currently filming right now. Season 2 is set to debut next year. But sometimes, fan casting works sometimes, They got their attention. And they looked at him and was like, yeah, this guy's pretty decent. Now we just need to fan cast. We need to get Ethan Hawke and Maya Hawke to play Commissioner Gordon and Barbara Gordon, Batgirl, in the James Gunn's DCU. People have been pushing for them, and I think that's brilliant. We got our first look at Netflix's Agatha Christie series, the Agatha Christie's The Seven Dials, with Mia McKenna Bruce, who has just been cast in the Beatles movies. Martin Freeman and Helena Bonham Carter set debut January 15th. No trailer yet, just some first look at it. But it's supposed to be like Agatha Christie-esque sort of story. Jonathan Bailey is People Magazine's sexiest man alive. He is the first openly gay actor to hold the title. So congratulations to you, Jonathan Bailey. The sexiest man alive is set to appear in Wicked for Good coming in a couple weeks from now. Godzilla Minus Zero is the name of the sequel to Godzilla Minus One. And it's interesting. They are filming the film right now, and they're filming outside of Japan for the first time in almost 20 years, since the last time they did it was back in 2004. 21 years, actually, to be exact. So it's kind of interesting to see that. So that's being filmed now. That's a good sign that we may get Godzilla Minus Zero sometime next year, which would be fantastic, because Godzilla Minus One is awesome. Five Nights at Freddy 2, the second trailer for that came out. Looks just exactly as you expected. That's set to debut on December 5th as well. Courtney Cox, known for Dancing in the Dark and being a misfit of science, dating Jerry Seinfeld at one point, and Gail Weathers in The Scream. And she was in some sitcom, I don't know, called Friends, I think. I don't know. Anyway, she's set to direct her first film, and she is called Evil Genius, and is set to star David Harbour and Patricia Arquette. So, pretty cool. Speaking of Courtney Cox, her ex-husband, David Arquette, has been cast, as has Nick Stahl, Vincent Kartheiser, and Rainey Qualley, who is Margaret Qualley's sister, have been cast in a movie called The Green River Killer, a movie based on the Green River Killer, The Hunt for the Green River Killer, an actual serial killer. So that is to worked on here soon. Nobody Wants This is renewed for a third season after the popularity of the second season. Trailer for Man on the Inside Season 2 set debut November 20th, not that far from now. If you have not seen Man on the Inside Season 1, definitely see it. Ted Danson continues his reign as probably the best television actor of our time, in a great series from the creators of The Good Place, Parks and Rec, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, stuff like that. It's outstanding. The first season was so good. The trailer for the second season looks just as good, and get real excited for it. Community Day for Pokemon Go, November 30th. We're going to get Picky Peck, the woodpecker. We're getting a fourth Mummy movie where Brendan Fraser will be reteaming with Rachel Weisz, who sat out the third Mummy movie. And John Hannah is also set to return for that. So it should be good to see that and see them come back to that and see how they bring that all forward, because you got to think about that now. 26 years ago was when the first one came out. And the second one came out, 3 years later? It's like 20. So 23 years, let's just say roughly 25 years, because this movie ain't coming out till 2027, probably at the earliest. Let's just say 25 years has passed since the second Mummy movie. They're just going to sort of delete the third one. They should still keep their son, though, because that way you can cast a young star to sort of come in and maybe take over the franchise a little bit. And Joe Keery might be interesting for that, but we'll see. But it'd be interesting to see. And then what villain they go up against as well. So it could bring up, but they are doing a fourth Mummy movie with Brendan Fraser, Rachel Weisz, and John Hannah. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Polar bears and grizzly bears are actually mating, and they're creating something that people are calling pizzles. Part grizzly bear, part polar bear. So interesting. And now our next discussion topic, Paramount announced that they are no longer doing a Kelvin timeline Star Trek, which is a shame. We got 3 really good movies with the Kelvin timeline: Chris Pine, Zachary Quinto, Zoe Saldana, Carl Urban, John Cho, Bruce Greenwood. We got some good cast, and then Anton Yelchin, who passed away, and the guy from Shaun of the Dead, and all those movies. He's also in it as well. And it's a shame that I think the last movie came out in like 2016, and they were trying to do sort of the fourth one. They were going to try to do a time travel story similar to what the original Star Trek crew did when they went back in time to save the whales, but involved Chris Hemsworth, who was the father of Chris Pine's Captain Kirk before he was famous. But that didn't come to fruition either. And it just, time ran away from it, and here we are 10 years later and no new movie coming out, and we lost Anton Yelchin also. So my discussion is, I think it's depressing because it was really, really good. I like the movies and I like the cast, and I think it would have been fun to see some more adventures with them, but now is the opportune time to strike. Now you do Star Trek The Next Generation Kelvin timeline. And I put this out on Threads. Nobody responded to it. Not to expect, but think about that. What would be your fan casting for a Star Trek The Next Generation Kelvin timeline? Obviously, I mean, you have to, the same characters would be in there, but they would have to be, you can do slightly variations on them. And I like to see what would their world be like in the Kelvin timeline, because Kelvin timeline is different than the regular Star Trek timeline. What would Next Generation look like? You know, Captain Picard, would he be like the bald sort of Patrick Stewart type, or would he be like an Andor sort of type of rebellious sort of guy? You know, would you make Riker a female, you know, make a female number 1, you know? You absolutely could. I mean, they didn't really change much from in the Kelvin timeline. So if you don't want to do that, that's fine. But then you've got such a bigger cast now. I mean, who knows? Maybe you don't have a Worf because the Klingons and Starfleet are in a different sort of position in the Kelvin timeline than they are in the regular timeline. So you don't even have that. And you might not even have the regular characters in there. You might have to shorten it down a little bit. What would it look like? And you could also, the actors of the Kelvin timeline are still young enough. You could probably do some sort of crossover with them. Or hell, you could even make the Next Generation taking some of the actors from that, and just, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff you can possibly do with it. It's a shame though, because I really wish we would stick with the Kelvin timeline, and we're not going to get any new like Star Trek movies in the time being now, because Star Trek TV shows are doing very well. That's where all the Star Trek money's going now, so we'll see. But it's a shame. Des Gilson Levis, the drummer for Squeeze, Tempted is probably the song I know them most for, died at the age of 74. Young Bleed, a rapper, died at the age of 51. Marshawn Nealon, this is kind of sad. It was a Dallas Cowboy player who committed suicide, died at the age of 24 years old. Excuse me. That was unintentional, was not trying to be disrespectful. Marshawn's mother passed away recently, and she was like his whole life, really, for the most part. And he had a lot of trouble, I think, trying to adjust to not having his mother. And I think it was just too much for him. And he ended up unaliving himself. I hate saying that stuff, but people don't like saying the S word anymore, and they get flagged for it and stuff like that. I like this idea. The NFL has requested that every team with a home game tomorrow do a moment of silence for Marshawn Nealand. And I think that's a nice thing to do. And I think they should do it. We get back to European football. Falcons and the Colts are playing in Germany this week, and next week Washington is playing. I forget who they're playing in Spain. So getting back to that. Pauline Collins, Doctor Who actress, passed away this week as well. Anniversaries. Spectre, the James Bond film with Daniel Craig, debuted 10 years ago this week. The Waterboy debuted 27 years ago this week. The Matrix Revolutions, I think it's the third Matrix movie, debuted 22 years ago this week. Yes, because the second one debuted in the summer, third one debuted in the fall. The Incredibles debuted 21 years ago this week. Interesting. I thought it would be a little later, but no, I checked. This is proper time. Blair Witch 2, Book of Shadows, a very bad sequel, debuted 25 years ago this week. And in fictional land, November 5th was the 70th anniversary of when Marty McFly went back in time. So he landed in November 5th, 1955, which was the day that Doc Brown created time travel. That's when he went back in time. So there we go. Yeah, I think I have one more show left to me for this book. So yeah, okay. So I'll have one more to go with that. All right. Can't have a show without your typical Sydney Sweeney stuff. Still hot. She's set to star and executive produce the comedy The Man from Rio for Apple TV. It is going to be directed by Justin Lin of the Fast and the Furious fame. So it's a remake of a film that was sort of a parody sort of film. So we'll see how that's going. Sydney's going out there promoting her biopic of Christy, which honestly I kind of want to see also, believe it or not. And it's not because of Sydney's bod, because she's unrecognizable as Christy, but this looks like an interesting story. So we'll see. I talked about Patrick Stewart earlier. Patrick Stewart has announced that he will be retiring from acting. His last role will be in Avengers Doomsday, unless they bring him back for Secret Wars. I don't think they're going to, because everyone's contemplating that it's probably just going to be Doomsday, and he did announce that he is going to be retiring. So unless they've already filmed his role, or they can convince him to come back, or he might not even need to be coming back for that, Patrick Stewart has retired from acting. So you've had quite a career, sir, good sir. In my fantasies I have, where I'm a big-time director, you starred in a number of my movies with me. So here's to us in our fantasy world. Neverlanders, a comic book written by Tom Taylor and drawn by John Sumerian, is set to get an animated film. So that could be interesting. The Six Flags Entertainment Center has officially closed down in the Baltimore, Washington, D.C. area. I used to go there for the radio station a bunch of times, and have gone there a few other times on my own as well. It was fine, but it is what it is. I'll do that last because that's a weird story. Dree Hemingway is set to produce a biopic on her grandfather, Ernest Hemingway. Foster Dade, a show called Foster Dade, has cast Matt Bomer and Robbie Rogers. That's not what I'm going to talk about. I'll talk about those in a second. I'll talk about that in a second, too. Song Sung Blue, the new trailer for the Hugh Jackman, Kate Hudson film. Again, that one looks like a film I want to watch also. Basically about a Neil Diamond tribute band, but it also covers the relationship between the husband and wife who do the Neil Diamond cover band. It looks phenomenal. It looks amazing. Hugh Jackman and Kate Hudson looks amazing. Hugh Jackman looks great. They're singing. They both are singing in the film, and it looks fantastic. And I actually kind of want to see it also. So good on that. So there's a new film that's going to be going into production soon. They just announced the cast this week, called Ibelin, which is a true story about a man who wrote a blog. I think it was somebody who wrote a blog as their World of Warcraft character that details all the stuff that happened in their life, and they're making a movie of that blog. You've got Charlie Plummer, Isabella Merced, Toni Collette, Anthony Hopkins, Stephen Graham, and Maisie Gray to be not Maisie Gray, Maisie Carter, I guess, whatever. I can't read that. It's not Maisie Gray. Are said to star in it, so it's got a decent cast to it. So Macaulay Culkin has returned in an advertisement where he's reprising his role as Kevin McAllister, now grown up. And he's at the same house that he grew up in, and he is outside making things safe, as we hear him talking to himself, making stuff safe for his mother, who's now living on her own and is getting older, and he doesn't want anything to happen to her. And he loses something, and it gets picked up by old man Marley's granddaughter, who we see briefly in the original Home Alone movie, who's popped in there to see her grandfather as well. And the two of them start talking, and it's a commercial for, what's best for your elderly parents and stuff like that. It's a really well done, very sweet film. And it'd be kind of nice to see an updated version of like a Home Alone with them in it. But it's a nice little ad campaign. You'll probably be seeing it this whole season when you're watching football and stuff like that. And you can find it online also. So it's definitely worth a check out for it. Now, I know Kevin Williamson is directing Scream 7, and the first trailer for it came out last week. But word just came out that he has also been credited as co-writer of Scream 7. People were thinking that it was just going to be this other writer and he was just directing it, but he apparently had to rewrite a bunch of stuff. So Ken Williamson has now going to be credited for co-writer of Scream 7 as well as director too. So that could be interesting. So I was hoping he was going to do something with the directing because it's his baby. And directing's great, but, your writing's what got us here. David Johnson, Paul Dano, and Cooper Hoffman are set to star in the movie The Chaperones. Mason Thames, but you don't know who that is. I think he's dating McKenna Grace. This year alone, he has made $790 million at the box office. Now, granted, it's for really just sort of, it's for 3 movies that all hit number 1 this year, but the bulk of that came from one particular movie. We'll talk about the same, but he was in Black Phone 2, which had a decent opening, like $50 million opening, so that was decent. He was in Regretting You, which is what he did with his girlfriend, McKenna Grace, which didn't do quite as well, but still did well enough to hit number 1 as well. And then the big one was he was in the How to Train Your Dragon live action film. But the fact that he was in 3 big movies that hit number 1 this year alone and made $790 million, Jim Carrey is the only other actor who's had sort of a year like that. So congratulations to you, Mason Thames, and congratulations for reeling in McKenna Grace as well. Fortnite collabs are continuing. After the Simpsons collab, we are going to be getting a Harry Potter and a SpongeBob and a South Park collaboration. So we'll see how that all works out. Killa Bee cast Daisy Ridley. It's a true story of an ICU nurse that becomes an MMA champion. So interesting. A Very Jonas Christmas trailer released this week as well. This is kind of interesting. Pete Davidson and Ella Purnell are set to star in That Time We Met, a fantastical rom-com about a couple who discover that their unborn baby is going to save the world, is destined to save the future, not the world, save the future. The problem is, after their first date with each other, they hate each other. And they somehow discover, both of them discover that their unborn child is going to save the future. They have to figure out a way to keep that future, make sure that future happens. So it sounds like a cute idea. High concept sort of rom-coms are always fun to do. IDW, which is a comic book group that I used to be the rep for, they've created a IDW game section, and their first IDW game is going to be a Godzilla role-playing game that is written by 3 World of Warhammer legends. So that's pretty cool that they got some decent people to work on that. A volcano is showing its first signs of life in 700,000 years. So people, they call it a zombie volcano, but it's starting to show some signs of life. So we'll see what happens with that. Science is crazy. Tom Brady, who I've never been a really big fan of anyway, reveals that his current dog is a clone of his former dog, thanks to a biosciences group that he invests in. So he invests into this biosciences group. His former dog gave some blood, and when his dog passed away, they were able to create a clone, probably using some of the DNA from the dog and from the blood to create this dog that Tom Brady now currently has. Yeah, okay. So now we're going to do the food part of our storyline here. First up, apple pie mac and cheese, which you can only get on Walmart.com, I think. Sounds disgusting, but one of the guys that does TikToks about new snacks, stuff like that, he got a free sample of it. He tried it. He says it's okay. It's not outstanding, but it's not overwhelming. It tastes like Kraft macaroni and cheese, but there's a hint of cinnamon and a hint of sourness as well to it, which is the apple part of it, but it does not taste like you're eating a cheesy apple pie. These what he's saying. It still tastes like Kraft mac and cheese, but there's just a little extra back taste to it as well. I'm still not going to try it because that was terrible. So some new cereals that were by the same snack guy released this as well. Mott's cereal. So Mott's is creating a cereal that has some apple in it. They've got apple cinnamon flavor and a very berry flavor. Cinnamon Toast Crunch is creating a peanut butter flavor. And then Ghost, who is a energy drink thing, is getting into the cereal game. They have a energy drink that tastes like Cinnamon Toast Crunch. So they decided we're going to make Ghost Cinnamon Toast Crunch cereal, which I guess gives you more energy or whatever. I'm not sure. And then Reese's Puffs are set to release a dark chocolate variant of their Reese's Puffs. So people like dark chocolate be able to get the dark chocolate. That sounds pretty decent. Des Lee Weaver, a G.I. Joe voice actor who played Alpine, he passed away this week. Dick Cheney, former vice president, died at the age of 84. He was vice president under George W. Bush. My conspiracy theory behind that is that the Republican Party wanted Dick Cheney to be president, run for president in 2000. And when he ran in the primaries, nobody liked him. Everybody hated him, and he got very minimal votes and dropped out very quickly. And then they found George W., who was a moron, not as bad as the one we have in office now, but he was a moron. And they said, we can play him. So they said, you're going to nominate Dick Cheney as your vice president. And he said, sure, why not? My dad knows him. He's a well-known area. So Dick Cheney became vice president. George W. Bush won the election very mysteriously, but that's besides the point. We'll talk about that some other time. And then my conspiracy theory was that because George W. was so stupid, and once he got inaugurated in 2001, his rating was terrible during the summer of 2001. And that's exactly what the Republican Party wanted. The Republican Party was trying to make him be so unpopular that they could drop the 25th Amendment on him and remove him from office due to they come up with something, make up something that, he's no longer fit to be in the office of the presidency, thus ascending Dick Cheney to the presidency, which is what the Republican Party wanted in the first place, but the voters didn't want. That was my conspiracy theory. And then what happened in 2001? Well, September 11th, 2001, we were attacked, and George W. Bush became a war president. But to be honest, it was Dick Cheney who was running everything because he wanted to be the war president, so he ran everything. So Dick Cheney, in my eyes, was still president during the George W. Bush stuff. But he passed away at the age of 84 this week. Diane Ladd, actress, mother of Laura Dern, she passed away this week at the age of 89. Let's give you some Diane Ladd stuff. I know she was in David Lynch's Wild at Heart. She was also in Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore, which was the inspiration for the TV show Alice. So she was in, she started her career in 61, but just regular stuff. No one's ever heard of these. She was in Chinatown. She was in Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore. She was in Something Wicked, This Way Comes. She was in National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. That's right. She played Clark's mother. She was in Wild at Heart, Kiss Before Dying, Rambling Rose, The Cemetery Club, Carnosaur, Citizen Ruth with her daughter Laura Dern, Ghosts of Mississippi, Primary Colors, 28 Days, which was the Sandra Bullock movie, Charlie's War, The World's Fastest Indian, Inland Empire, which is also David Lynch. Didn't know she was in that. That's also with her daughter. Joy with Jennifer Lawrence, I think. And that was it for the movies. Television, let's see, did she do anything of interest? Just typical stuff. She was in 3 episodes of Gunsmoke. She did appear in the Alice TV show. Okay. That's pretty cool. She appeared in 3 episodes of The Love Boat. She was in Fairy Tale Theater in the Little Red Riding Hood episode. She was in L.A. Law. Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman. She was in 2 episodes of that. Grace Under Fire. She was also in 2 episodes of that. So she was in ER, episode of ER, episode of Ray Donovan, and an episode of Young Sheldon. So she's had a career, and it's sad to see her go. Excuse me. Again, not mean disrespect, I just can't help it. And finally, Donna Goodshow Mackey, one of the Grateful Dead singers, passed away at the age of 78 this week as well. Anniversaries: Charlie's Angels with Drew Barrymore, Cameron Diaz, and Lucy Liu debuted 25 years ago this week. They Live, the John Carpenter alien invasion film, debuted 37 years ago this week. And Hacksaw Ridge with Andrew Garfield debuted 9 years ago this week. All right, we're on our last page here, and then I think we'll have one last episode I can put in this book, and then we are going to put this book to bed, and we will start anew in mid-November with a new book. All right, one more week to go. One more page to go, I should say. Excuse me. Unfortunately, this is only unfortunately, but this is only available in the UK. Gingerbread flavored Doritos. I don't know what that would be like. The first ever sweet flavored Doritos. I guess it's best it does not appear in the United States, but it could have been interesting to try. Harry and the Hendersons, a great movie from the mid-'80s with John Lithgow and the mother from Christmas Story and Close Encounters. I can't think of her name right now. Melinda Dillon. They is going to be getting the 4K Blu-ray release in 2026, so that'd be nice to see that. Mike Flanagan's Carrie has finished filming. I think I talked about that last week. Also, Mike Flanagan wrote this. Clayface, the movie based on the Batman villain, has finished production this week as well. A Flash video game is in the works. It's just started, so it won't be for a little while. David Gordon Green is set to direct Supermax, a high-concept movie that not a lot has been detailed about that yet. Coca-Cola is going to have a cherry float flavor coming in early 2026. Sounds like a mix between maybe some rebranding of their cherry vanilla flavor. But I thought I'd mention it because they are doing that. And this might actually be kind of interesting. Fanta is releasing a sour cherry flavor also in early 2026. And then last week we talked about Mr. Pibb will also be coming back next year, early 2026, with a brand new formula with more caffeine. It'd be interesting to try that as well. Adam Driver is set to star in a hostage series from the director of Adolescence. The Jacksonville Jaguars field goal kicker hit a 68-yard field goal in a game, which is now the longest in NFL history, beating Justin Tucker's 66-yarder he did in Detroit for the Ravens years ago. I talked about Godzilla earlier. Godzilla is currently wreaking havoc in the Marvel Universe. A new miniseries called Godzilla Infinity Roar is in the works, where Godzilla gets into possession of the Infinity Stones and what he does to everybody with them. It's interesting. Ghost Australian version of Ghost has premiered, so that's good on that. I will maybe make this one the last one. The Russo brothers are set to produce a Rambo reboot, not this prequel, but a new series of Rambo movies. I talked about, I know I talked about this one. And actually, I make this one the last one. I was going to make this. I'm not going to make this one because I think I've talked about this one before. Man gets diarrhea on a roller coaster and splashes 14 people. I think I've seen that one before. So we'll see about that. But I figured I'd drop that in there again because I just saw it again. Emilia Clarke and Edgar Ramirez. We get our first look at their next film, Next Life. The storyline's about a jazz musician who finds herself living across two alternate realities. Sounds sort of similar to Sliding Doors with Gwyneth Paltrow, which is a underrated movie. If you haven't seen it yet. Krispy Kreme is set to release a bunch of new permanent donuts besides their regular glazed donut. You're getting a Oreo cookies and cream donut permanently, a New York cheesecake donut, a Biscoff cookie butter cream donut, cinnamon apple filled donut, the original glazed cream filled donut, maple iced, a pumpkin flavor, the original glazed, and chocolate glazed. So these are all now going to be permanent Krispy Kreme flavors. One's because you only used to be able to just get the original glazed there. And then whatever special ones they're doing now, you're going to have your choice, sort of similar to Dunkin'. Looks like they're trying to expand a little bit like Dunkin'. So there we go. A couple of movie release dates, which I was not aware of, popped up in my feed when they were talking about what's going to be in IMAX next year. Flowervale Station, which is a movie I'm dying to see. It's an Anne Hathaway film. Set debut August 14th. It looks like it's some sort of horror sci-fi sort of thing, and it's being kept under the vest, but some of the behind-the-scenes pictures have her covered in blood on top of rooftops, and it sounds like a really cool idea, and it's Anne Hathaway. The Resident Evil remake is set to come out September 18th. They've started filming that. We got our first look that they're going to be returning to Raccoon City for that. And the Greta Gerwig Narnia film is set to debut day before Thanksgiving next year. So there we go. Sure, they can't be right because it's November 26th, which would be Thanksgiving next year. So I don't know. We'll see. But that's the debut then. Before we get to the last story of the week, deaths. Bob Trumpian, NFL tight end, passed away this week. Adam Greenberg, a cinematographer who worked on Terminator 2 and with Barry Levinson and Ivan Reitman, passed away this week. Craig Eaton, a Major League Baseball pitcher, passed away this week as well. Anniversaries. Thor Ragnarok debuted 8 years ago this week. Fantastic film. The original Carrie, talked about the new adaptation by Mike Flanagan. The original Carrie debuted 49 years ago this week. Lady Bird, which is Greta Gerwig's, I think, first film she did, debuted 8 years ago this week. Free Birds, which is kind of a Halloween and Thanksgiving animated movie, debuted 12 years ago this week. And American Gangster with Denzel Washington debuted 18 years ago this week. Final story this week. A white stag has been seen in Scotland, which in folklore means the return of the Fae. So that could be an interesting thing if true. The Fae are coming back to Scotland, so better keep your eyes out. Next week, what do we got? We got nothing. Veterans Day is coming up. The Fortnite Simpsons update, they're going to add some new stuff to the Simpsons update since it's only a limited season. Glenn Powell's The Running Man, set to debut, directed by Edgar Wright, set to debut on Friday the 14th. I haven't decided if I'm going to take off that day to watch it in movie theaters or not. My son is having a half a day off of school that day, and my wife is getting ready to go camping that weekend, so we'll see about that. StellarCon, which is a everything goes sort of convention, is actually going to be at the arena on the campus of UMBC, where my daughter's going to college. She is going to be cosplaying with her roommates, and I think I have her cosplay outfit here. Got delivered here, sent to her at UMBC, so I got to get it down to her sometime this week. So StellarCon's coming up, so that's kind of cool as well. Other than that, don't know what else we've got going. Let's just do one last, see if there's any breaking news on anything. Nope. I'm going to do it real quick. Nope. Ooh. Florence Pugh, yummy. Nope. I don't think anything's popping up here, so I'm not really going to stick around too much longer. So nope. Ooh, some Sydney Sweeney, yummy. And yep, there's nothing else here. So, yep. So that's it. Ooh, Jennifer Love Hewitt, yummy too. Ooh, I like that. Leopard print drives me crazy. All right, enough of that. All right, so that's about it. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. I will talk to you next week. Have a good one. Where am I? There I am.